you're unmuted, so you can jump in here. Cheryl Knowlton is CEO and Chief Energy Officer, she says here, of Dynamite Productions. And she's a 22-year veteran of speaking to the real estate industry, training them and encouraging them, motivation type speaks, I guess. And she's also a member of the National Speakers Association and holds the title of a certified professional speaker. No, certified speaking professional.
There you go. CSP, yeah. Baby. Yep.
CSP. There you go. There you go. And she's also president in embryo of our local National Speaker Association.
Also known as president-elect. I like president-elect. Okay. But yeah, that's pretty great.
Okay. Okay. Well, let's just jump into the subject at hand here, Cheryl, and ask you some questions. And the main question I have to get us started is, why do you feel like you had to write a book? Why do you feel like it was necessary to write a book as a speaker in the real estate industry?
Oh gosh, Roger, thank you for asking, and thank you for giving me an opportunity to share with your audience about the process of book writing, which basically feels very much like birth for me. Having 4 children, it felt like giving birth a little bit. I started in the real estate industry in 1999, and as a soon-to-be single mom of 4 beautiful young daughters, my oldest was 11, and my youngest child was 6 months old when I started. And there was no handbook for how to be a single parent in an industry without glass ceilings, but also without the benefit of a boss and without the benefit of a schedule and a structure and the certainty of a paycheck, which my children, bless their hearts, they came to be very fond of having food with their meals. And yeah, I'm like, I fed you yesterday. I needed some kind of certainty that I was going to get paid, and that required some fuzzy boundaries sometimes, that required learning how to delegate, and it required a number of skills that I certainly did not have when I came in to the real estate industry as soon to be single parent. And so I felt like I needed to write the book for other people so this was my first book, Burn the Hamster Wheel, Stress Management Strategies for Today's Real Estate Professional. And I give people strategies that they can use to combat burnout, and a lot of specifics, including habits and boundaries, time blocking, and learning to get comfortable with hiring a coach so that we can next level and up level and be accountable to someone else, and then increase the likelihood of getting things done. Definitely learning to let go of having to do everything perfectly or ourselves. The last time I went to Kentucky Fried Chicken, Colonel Sanders did not make my chicken for me. So somehow the recipe was created and handed off, and other people learned how to make it. And ultimately, that's what we need to do in business, is learning to allow other people to learn how to make it our way.
Yeah.
So to use a Burger King metaphor, you think it's lunchtime or something. So that is how this first book was born. It came as a result of a compilation of a lot of ideas, and everything kind of washing machine churning around in my head. And ultimately it was National Speakers Association, and it was my journey to CSP that made me realize I need a book. So hanging out at National Speakers Association at the Influence Convention, I went to my first Influence in 2018, and so many people there had written books, and I thought, well, I need to write a book. Yeah. And this one was very close to being born. And that leads into, how did I actually start writing it? I had no idea. I did not have the two of you to help me at that point. And everyone's so lucky that they have you to teach them and guide them, because that's hard, figuring out how to get started. I was doing a really big keynote. I was actually hired to deliver this as a keynote for the very first time. And I hired a crew to come in and videotape it and take lots and lots of pictures. And I used that as my CSP video, actually.
Okay.
And for those of you who are not familiar with CSP, the Certified Speaking Professional is the highest earned designation in the National Speakers Association. About 2% of speakers in the world hold it. And it was my Mount Everest in terms of my career. And there will be others, but that's the biggest mountain that I've climbed so far. And so it was part of that journey that really led me to the birth of this book. So I had that keynote videotaped, and I took that video and I had it transcribed through Rev, REV.
Yep.
V is in Victor. It's $1 a minute. I talk fast, so that was really good. Bang for my buck. I took that and I printed it out, and I grabbed a pen and a highlighter, and I started going through it, and I put it in, it was in a Word doc, and I started chunking it out into, this is a chapter. This is a chapter. This is a chapter. This is a chapter. And then just took it one at a time and started building out additional content around each chapter so that each one was a little bit more robust. And so here's a true sad story. When I was so excited when I thought I was done the first time, send it off to the editor, and she said, it's really good at the beginning, and then each chapter gets a little shorter and a little shorter and a little shorter and a little shorter. And I thought, oh gosh, that would be because I was kind of like the putt-putt car that was like putt, 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 putt.
Yeah, yeah.
To stop. And I had to go back and then, amp up each of the chapters. And that was for round one.
Yes.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
So, you're a busy woman. How did you find the time to do this? I mean, did you have to set a time aside, or?
Were you still selling real estate during all this time?
By the time that I did this, I was not selling anymore. And I was actually no longer on the brokerage side either. I was actually 100% dedicated to education. I had started Dynamite Productions, and all of that happened in 2018. Which was the year my dad passed away. And that's a significant part of the story, recognizing tomorrow is not promised.
Yeah.
And I want to leave a legacy for my children. I want to leave a legacy for my industry. I want to contribute something that is going to outlive me. For my Hamilton fans out there, the quote from the amazing musical Hamilton, God help and forgive me. I want to build something that's going to outlive me. Yeah. And I felt that way about my first book. And I thought, I've got to get this out of me onto paper and get it going. And I found that my time was not helping me to make that happen. I absolutely had to set aside time, not only time block it out. So you'll love this. I had to text my entire team and my whole family and say, on Friday, I'm taking 6 hours and I'm going to work on my book, and I'm putting my phone into airplane mode. I am not dead in a ditch. I will be ignoring you because I won't even know that you're reaching out to me, because that's the only way I can get this done.
Yeah.
At the end of those 6 hours, when I celebrated and stood up and stretched and celebrated the fact that I had just done this thing, I kid you not, I had 62 texts, not to mention my emails and my WhatsApps and my instant 62 texts alone. And I thought, no wonder I was never getting this done, because I'm just being pecked to death by ducks all day, every day. It was a huge lesson to me that I had to set aside time specifically to work on this in order to get it across the finish line.
Yes, yes. Yes.
Which led to book number 2, which I wrote differently. So this one, I'm only half crazy. Life lessons learned while running 20 half marathons. and like trying to make it straight for the camera. I have my graphic designer was responsible for this one. He's the one that put this together with the dynamite in the Hamster Wheel, which is the name of my company's Dynamite Productions. I thought that was so brilliant and so cute. And on the back, there's like a match, and that was really fun. It was my photographer that came up with this one and had the idea to bring all of my medals and stretch out my arms and do it. And then she designed the back also.
Okay.
So, and oh, look at my ISBN. Isn't that so great? So official.
Well, that one, I noticed that, the Burn the Hamster Wheel is more the traditional size. And the other one is smaller. What was your reasoning for making it different?
Okay, so this one has been a pain in the ever-living biscuit. This one, I felt like such an adult and such a big kid and such a grown-up and so legit that when we got this on Amazon. We got it on Amazon because it's a traditional format and traditional formatting. Yep. This one, we have a mutual, brilliant, a wonderful friend who is one of my mentors and example and friend and all the things, Michelle McCullough. Michelle had written several books by the time I met her, and she wrote one of her books and she formatted it in Canva. And so I loved it, and I wanted each of these to have lots of pictures and a lesson and where I ran that particular half marathon and what I took away from that from a running standpoint, as well as an application in the real world, not specifically real estate and not even specifically business. We've not been able to get this one on Amazon because we did it in Canva. Will I ever do that again? Nope. I will not ever do that again because it is such a pain in the butt. And a lot of people feel like in order for a book to be legitimate, it has to be purchasable on Amazon because Amazon is everything, right?
Right. Now, how about in length? Did one is a lot thinner than the other. Did you decide that the smaller length was better than the bigger one? Or are they the same?
They are not the same. And this one also has pictures in it.
Okay.
This was designed to be a quick tip book where someone could sit, not to be crass or unladylike, but you could put this book at the back of the toilet and just have some nice reading if you were tired of just looking at your phone.
Okay.
and enjoy one lesson per visit. And for moms who have no time and everybody else, just quick little digestible nuggets for each chapter. This one goes into more depth, especially for some of the chapters in particular. So it was this one, but by design, was a deeper dive to be a lot more inclusive in each chapter, to be a through thought from start to finish.
How has your book helped your business? I mean, after you got it done, did you feel any, was there a kick, jump start to anything in your business? Or?
Yes.
Yeah,
it allowed a lot of different things. So I am getting booked to deliver my keynote more often, which I love and appreciate. So once I wrote the book, I thought I need a keynote to go with it so that I can actually deliver it. Even though when I shared my original story, the keynotes came first, which we recorded and then turned into the skeleton of the book. But then I thought I need a real keynote. And so complete with graphic rich slides and to help me tell the stories and to just make it really wonderful and beautiful. And I wanted to be very energy rich and very excited to deliver it. And when someone hired me, I didn't want to internally go, oh no, don't hire me to do that. I'm not ready. I wanted to be like, and ready to go out there and knock it out of the park. So I actually engaged in a very, very high intensity program called Heroic Public Speaking. And I graduated from Heroic Public Speaking the first time around as a student 2 years ago yesterday. So yeah, very, very fresh on my mind, and helped me to take this into a digestible keynote. And as a result of, if you build it, they will come. And we learned that from Field of Dreams, right? Kevin Costner years and years ago. Once I built it, I started getting asked to deliver it a whole lot more. And as a result, then I can tell people, yay, we've had this fun 45 minutes together. If you want the whole thing, you can give the book, you can have the book. I've given the book as gifts to clients who have hired me. And it's your business card. It's your calling card. It's your, but it allows people to take something home with them after you've spoken, and it gives you tremendous credibility and allows them to have more of you. Because that would be awkward if you actually went home with them. You do not want to do that, but this way they can take a little bit of you home with them and learn more about your thought leadership.
Okay.
Very good.
Yeah.
That's really great to hear all those ways that your book serves you. Did you expect that your book would do all that for you, or were some of these things a surprise?
I hoped and prayed that my book would do that for me. Both of my books are self-published. And I am not yet a New York Times best-selling author, although that is on my vision board that someday I would very much like to be in that space. I did hope and expect that I would be invited to deliver my keynote more often. I have yet to deliver a keynote or two. I haven't written the keynote for this, and therefore I haven't been asked to do it. Which comes first, the chicken or the egg?
Right.
But I am now working on running half marathon number 26. So I am in the development of the ideas for the follow-up for this are in play.
Okay.
So, which I know you will help me to get that across the finish line, and it'll be a whole new ball game.
Yeah, awesome. Well, if you had to do this over, to write your books over, and you kind of did that with your second book, but what would you do differently? Is there anything that you would have, started earlier, or anything different?
Yes, I would have started earlier. Yes. So for anybody who's listening to this, after the fact, just get it out of you, because someone somewhere will be their life will be changed as a result of you sharing your story. And you don't want to take that to the grave with you, not to be morbid, but none of us, we just never know. And we've just got to get those stories out and told so that they can be told correctly. You ever play that game Telephone where, at a party and it starts, and I've listened to my children try to retell stories about either my upbringing or my dad's. And I'm like, where'd you get that piece of the story? That's not exactly how it went. We want it to be accurate, and you want to tell your story and leave your legacy your way and not anybody else's way. So
are you working on any other books at this time?
Yes, I'm actually working on a couple. So at the beginning of the pandemic, I was well along the way. I was writing a book in conjunction with another NSA friend of mine called Ninja Road Warrior Travel Rules. And she and I approached it very differently. She used to travel a lot for a non-real estate and non-speaking related job. I think she was in pharmaceuticals. And I mean, she had really crazy travel stories to tell. She was actually in the airplane on the tarmac waiting to take off that time years ago when Bill Clinton decided to get a haircut, and it's like everything shut down for like 4 hours, and she had no food, no water. I mean, she had nothing. And so that led to always bring your own food, always, make sure that you've got your own supplies. You never, ever know if the president of the United States is going to be on an airplane on another side of the airport, and you'll be unable to take off for many, many hours. Just ideas to make travel easier for anyone, especially women who travel as part of their career. And then all of a sudden travel went, and so the need for that book kind of went away for a hot minute, but hopefully, the book is largely written and we will still finish it. And I'm working on the follow-up to this one. So half marathons 21 through 40. And so my goal is to do 60 by the time I turn 60. And so if I do 5 a year, and just to put it in perspective, last year I did 6. So if I do 5 half marathons a year, I will do my 60 by 60, which means there's 2 more books in there, right?
Well, you're only 20. You got a lot. You can do a lot.
Yeah, something like that. With 7 grandchildren.
Let's get into the mechanics a little bit. Now you self-published both of these. You did them yourself.
Yes.
And you found a place that you can get how many copies you need from 1 to whatever.
Yes.
Was that difficult for you to do, or was that something easy?
Ultimately, I mean, you're going to think I'm an NSA disciple, and I guess I am. Everything that has gone beautifully and smoothly and wonderfully and easily for me with grace and ease and flow has come to me as a result of National Speakers Association and a referral from someone else who had already walked the path, who was my Sherpa. Okay. Oh, use this person. You have them do your formatting, have them do your editing, have them do your printing. And I just took everything that people told me at face value, and I trusted, and was very, very blessed and very lucky to be able to have easy relationships. So the printer that I used was in Orem, Utah. But I have friends in California who self-published their first book, and they used a printer, and not the same printer, but one here in Utah as well. So there are a lot of great printers for self-publishing here in the state of Utah, even if you don't live here.
Yeah, right. We may have published our books at the same place. I don't know. Yeah. So what would you say then would be, if for a newcomer coming in wanting to do this, what would be some of the hangups that would slow them down, and that you experienced? Or, I don't want to say what was the hardest thing you overcame, but I want to make sure that people know that this is, it's not difficult, but it's not easy.
There are challenges.
There are challenges. What were some of the challenges?
Simple doesn't mean it's easy. Those are not the same thing, for sure.
Yeah.
Getting out of my own way, probably.
Okay.
I would have to say, and just a lot of negative self-talk of nobody wants to read this. I don't have time for this. I'll do it later. Anything that was just energy poor and not accurate. And just reversing all of that thinking. And so what changed for me was a very non-Disney rated book called The War of Art.
Okay.
The War of Art was recommended to me by someone else who had written a book, knew that I wanted to, but I just wasn't making the time, wasn't getting out of my own way. And they said, you've got to read this book. And I actually got it on Audible, and I listened to it. Grateful I did not have any of my grandchildren in the car, because it is extremely colorful in certain spots, but it cleared the blocks for me entirely. And I remember declaring, I'm doing this. Nothing is going to stop me from doing this. I am doing this. Yeah. And part of that came as a result of my dad passing away, which led to that first keynote. He died very suddenly in my arms. He was given a clean bill of health. We were literally on our way out of the hospital, taking him home, when he had a simultaneous heart attack, stroke, and seizure all at the same time. I mean, and he clocked out, and he was taking an elevator somewhere other than my house. He was going home, but not to my house. And I realized tomorrow is not promised for me, for him, for any of us. We just have to get out of our own way and get it done, and create the systems for success that will allow us to do it. Whether that's getting up an hour earlier to write, whether that's putting the kids to bed earlier, whether it's staying up later, wherever is the most energy rich time for you, finding the time to do it, and surrounding yourself with the people who are going to support you in getting it across the finish line. No pun intended. That was the biggest difference for this one. I worked on this one very, very differently, and I would do a chapter, send it to the editor number one. I had two. Editor number one was more content driven, and he would say, this is great, but you need more here. And I'd be like, dang it. Or this is awesome, tell me more. And then until he was satisfied, then it would go to the actual editor and she would edit it for grammar and syntax. But she was on the team. And so, everything would go back and forth between the two of them. And Chuck would say, wow, that's a great idea. And Janine would say, I love what you did here. It was just a very, very supportive. It felt like a cheerleading squad with the bells while I was running along. And once we got chapter one done, lesson number one, then we would start with number two. And the process, we created a system that worked for all of us, an easy workflow to allow us to get through 20 chapters and a finish line, and we got it done.
About how much time did it take you?
I don't want to say that because I don't want to discourage anybody.
No, that's okay.
The second one was a lot easier than the first one.
Yeah.
But the first one took you roughly,
oh my stars in heaven, probably 100 hours.
Yeah.
Finish, because I hired an editor that, bless her heart, was not very good. Yeah, she missed a lot. And so when I had my daughter review it, she was like, oh my gosh, who edited this for you? I mean, you got widows and orphans, which is a publishing term, which you can address better than I can. You've got all sorts of weird things going on, and this is terrible, and it needed to be reformatted and redone.
Yeah.
So that's one of the surprises that came up, is that you didn't.
Yes.
Yeah, you do need to figure out your team, but also over how many weeks or months did this 100 hours spread? Would you say roughly?
Originally, I would say a year from start to finish. And then I published it. I self-published it, and I was so excited about it. I sent a copy to a good friend, Chuck, who was part of the system and part of the team for book number two. And he was one of those really good friends that tells you this is amazing and you have broccoli in your teeth, like an ampersand, not a but, right? And he said something that was very, very hard for me to hear. He said, this is a fabulous first draft.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I said, what do you mean first draft? And so, bless his heart, he was a good enough friend, loved me, cared enough about the success of the book that he went through the whole thing with a pen and a highlighter and Post-it notes and tabulated everything that he would change, from small typos to punctuation errors that slipped by, to this story doesn't make any sense, to this chapter belongs over here.
Yeah.
And I let go of my ego. There's another big one. I let go of my ego and allowed his ideas to infiltrate the campground. And I said, okay. And I redid it, and I wound up republishing it. And it is so much better for having that insight, because yes, I had people who read it and blew a lot of sunshine up my skirt. Oh, it was amazing. Oh, it was wonderful. That is not going to help you create a better book that is going to ultimately impact more lives. And let's face it, you'll be more proud of it at the end of the day if it is as next leveled and up leveled as it can possibly be.
Right.
So round one, that's a long way, Carolyn, of answering your question. From the delivery of that first keynote to, yay, it's published, I have a book in my hand, crying tears of joy, signing and happy. It was just under a year.
Okay.
And it was November of that year that he and I sat down at lunch, and he threw up all over me, all of the ideas and suggestions. And I literally felt like I need a shower after I was done hearing all of his ideas for improvement, took him back, implemented all of them really quickly. And I think by either December or January, we had the version that we have today.
Okay.
Well, good. It's good to hear that. And when you do your next book,
oh, this one was a piece of cake.
yes, yeah. So you had some systems down. Were there any other things that made it easier once you had a system and a team?
The team, the system, the process, the knowing, hey, I can do this because I've done it before. And so being able to have the certainty that I can do this again because I've done it before made all the difference in the world the second time around. Where this one took me a year to get to the first draft, this one probably took me 3 months.
Yeah.
Right.
So yay.
Yeah.
Maybe my next one I'll have done in 6 weeks. Yay!
That's right. That's right.
Woo!
Yeah. Yeah. Well,
Are there any questions that we should have asked you but didn't?
Oh.
Oh gosh, I would just encourage people, just do it. Stop telling yourself nobody wants to hear what you have to say, or that you don't have the tools, or that you don't have the money, or it's not going to be a New York Times bestseller, so why bother? All of those things are lies. And you're not a person who tells yourself lies. So just don't allow that in your life anymore. Get it out of you, get it out of your head, get it into your heart, and then get it down on paper. And just as I now take on the role of coach with my coaching clients, one of my beautiful coaching clients came to me a few weeks ago and shared very vulnerably that one of her children, all of a sudden, out of nowhere, came into her office, home office, closed the door and said, I need to talk to you. And she said, okay. And she put everything down. And this child shared with their mother that they were not the gender that they were born as and needed to make some changes immediately, starting with their name. And she had no solid foundation on which to even draw strength from. And as my friend has gone through this process with her child, she said, I feel like I need to write this down. And I said to her, you may very well wind up saving someone's life. Yeah. Because there are parents out there who have no solid footing, no idea how to navigate this. Every single person has experience at something, challenges we have each experienced on our hero's journey that could make that piece of the hero's journey that much easier for another human being, contributing significantly with love and contribution to the greater good of humankind. If your book saves one life or makes one person's life easier, it was worth it. So get it out of here, and onto paper. And she started writing it down and she put it out on Facebook, my friend. Hundreds of people reached out and thanked her from this one Facebook post, which will turn into a greater book with your help, because you've talked to my team, my coaching clients, and she's so excited to take the next step. And so that, in the words of Anna from Frozen 2, just do the next right thing. The smallest step in the right direction moving forward will give you momentum and excitement, confidence and competence to continue moving forward. And then before you know it, you'll be sitting in your car with a box of your own books, bawling your eyes out because you can't believe it. You really, truly did it. And you've got proof and it's in your hands and it's amazing. It's an amazing, beautiful feeling.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Cheryl.
And then you get to sign them for people.
Yeah.
That's right. Like, yes, let me sign that for you. Yeah. And it feels really good. It's really fun.
It is fun, yes.
Well, it's really, I think all of us have a deep need to have more meaning in our lives, to give our lives more purpose and more value. Yes. And, you know, once our children are out of the house, those opportunities seem to diminish, but they don't need to.
Yep.
We are all capable of so much more than we ever expected when we started life. And so thank you so much for this insight into your success writing your books, and the way that you didn't really talk too much about it, but you have a coaching program to help real estate professionals accomplish the things that they dream of. And I expect we could spend another whole hour on that, but we won't.
That is exactly right. It started with the book, and then it turned into the keynote, and that turned into a 3-day retreat, and that turned into a coaching immersive program that has ultimately been life-changing for me, as much as it has been for them. So yeah, it all has to start, it has to be born somewhere, right? Why not with a book?
Right.
Right.
Well, thank you, Cheryl.
Thank you so much.
Our guest today is Cheryl Knowlton. She's a certified speaking professional, and her company is called Dynamite Productions Incorporated. And she speaks about realty, in the real estate industry nationwide. You go all over the place. If you'd like to get in touch with her, just click on the link below to her website. And Cheryl, I have your website is burnthehamsterwheel.com. I'm sure there's another one. When would you like us to put
That's the one specifically for this book, but yeah, yes. Cheryl Knows, CHERYLKNOWS, like Cheryl knows something about hamsters, book writing, real estate.
burning them anyway.
Yes, CherylKnows.com is my primary website, which will send you off in a myriad of other directions with lots of information, including my contact information. So great. Thank you for giving me the opportunity to share part of my story and my journey of bag off, book on.
There you go. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Cheryl. Bye-bye.
Bye, everybody.